so many familiar faces and some new faces as well. As we get started, if you can turn on your camera, that is fantastic. If you cannot, we understand as well. And again, thanks for being here. For the purposes of the recording, I'll just repeat today's date. It is Wednesday, April 11th, 2023. And thanks for being on. Today, we're going to talk about how you as 4-H volunteers help youth thrive. So as we get started, as a typical lunch and learn fashion, we will have a pre-question that is popping up right now on your screen. So I would love for you to tell me, have you heard of the 4-H thriving model before today? Yes, no, or unsure. And then a second question is, I know I am making difference with the youth I serve through my volunteer role. So tell me a little bit of feedback here is very helpful. So we know as presenters kind of where we sit and what folks know getting into our session today. And again, welcome if you're just joining us. We've had a couple of folks pop in from the waiting room. If you're just joining us, again, thanks for being here. I would love to see your camera on if you're able to do that. If not, that is just fine. And just please note, we are currently recording. I'm going to end the poll and share our results. It looks like most of us, 70% of us have not heard of the 4-H thriving model before today. Well, that's great. You're in the right place to learn about that today. And you think you're making a difference by and large, or you hope you are. And today we're going to learn what that actually looks like. So I'm going to transition here away from our poll and introduce our guest speakers for today. As we think about the impact of our work from a 4-H volunteer, what better is to have two 4-H kind of older youth who are transitioning out of their 4-H career and into, we hope, a 4-H professional and or alumni role to tell us about how the 4-H program has created a spark for them, and then also transition that through their developmental years into their college experience. So today, I have the pleasure of welcoming Alyssa and Kristen. They are current PYD interns with the State 4-H office. So I'm going to turn it over to Alyssa and Kristen to introduce themselves more fully and take it away.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session today about the 4-H Thrive model in action. Hello, everyone. My name is Alyssa Neff. I'm a textile science major here at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and I serve as a Nebraska 4-H Positive Youth Development intern.
Hi guys, I'm Kristen Herrick. I am a sophomore here at UNL, majoring in agriculture and environmental science communication with my minor in the Engler Entrepreneurship Program, and I am a Nebraska 4-H STEM intern here with the university. So with that being said, we are kind of going to jump into the Thrive model like Jill was talking about. We're going to learn a little bit about that today. Today we're really going to be focusing on the soil part, those bottom two levels basically, and that bottom stem part. And we're just going to talk to you guys about how 4-H truly has impacted us on all of those levels by showing us what our spark is, what it means to belong, relationships, engagement, and how all of that kind of contributes to our growth into our careers and our long-term goals. So with that being said, we're going to get started here.
So you find your spark. First of all, what is a spark? So according to this model, the spark is what got us excited to be in 4-H. What got us excited to be a member of our club, to continue a project, what really gets us so excited. So now Chris and I are going to be sharing about our sparks. So for me, when I was 9 years old, my parents had my sisters and I joined Dauphin County 4-H in central Pennsylvania. My sisters and I were able to find our sparks very early on, mine being in sewing and raising animals and fiber arts. Um, these projects I became very passionate about. My mom taught me how to sew and quilt young, and my dad, also who was in 4-H, passed on to me the knowledge of poultry and other animal projects. I found my spark in these projects. And little did I know the places my projects would take me and the experiences and the friendships I would make. Um, I had the spark for discovering new sewing projects. Uh, I can remember sewing dresses for my dolls, and I even sewed some costumes for my cavies that I was raising at the time. I can also remember sewing for others as well, making little doll clothes for my friends. And it just got me excited to want to show these at fair. And I really just became so interested in discovering more. And those are my sparks.
Awesome. Yeah. So at an early age, I was able to find my spark through 4-H, and it's kind of funny because when my brother was old enough to start showing, my family had bought one sow, and it was kind of a family project, but it was really focusing on my brother since he was the one going into showing at the time. And we bought a sow and we farrowed her out, and quickly my brother found out that showing pigs was not his spark, and I quickly found out that I absolutely love it, and it was what I wanted to do, and it was my passion and my spark. And so something with 4-H in general is that there are so many opportunities to try new things, right? And so everyone is most likely probably going to find their spark somewhere in 4-H because there's all of those opportunities. And so my first year of 4-H, I of course was showing pigs because I found out before that I absolutely loved it. But I was showing sheep, cattle, I was doing photography, all of those maybe home environment projects, and I was just trying it all. And I think that's something that is very important at a young age when you're starting 4-H to help find your spark is being involved in taking all of those opportunities to try those new things so you can find your spark. And that was something obviously I found with pigs. And after those first couple of years, I really narrowed it down to focusing on just showing pigs and maybe a few of those other little projects, but that was my spark. And so with that, I was able to really focus on it. And my biggest thing is I started my own business called KK Show Pigs. And with that, what I wanted to do is I wanted to sell pigs to youth to help them find their spark, just like I found my spark with showing pigs. And so I want to have that impact on kids. And I was able to do that by raising my own pigs and selling them to youth. And so that really just kind of describes my spark and how I found it and how I want to also help others find their spark as well.
Yeah, Chris and I can definitely both agree that starting so young was a really big key component in getting to where we are now. Not like you can't join 4-H when you're later on, but I think starting young for us was a really big changing point. All right. Now, moving into the belonging context, we're still at the surface level of really what the 4-H Thrive model is. We're at the dirt, I should say, but belonging. This can be defined in the Thrive model as feeling safe, affirm, and open to share and grow. And how Kristen and I were able to do this, well, for me specifically, it really started with my sisters. I joined 4-H with my older sister and my younger sister, which you can see a picture of them in the top right corner. My sisters and I became best friends through 4-H. They helped me find my projects. They helped me find my friends. They really helped me be a part and feel included in club activities. This might sound redundant and cheesy, but I was a shy kid joining 4-H, and really my mom wanted me to get out there and grow, and this was the opportunity to do so. The next person who helped me feel belonging was my friend Maddie. Maddie did this by one time asking me at 4-H Club to come help her feed her dairy goats, and some of them were needed bottle feeding. She went out of her way and made me feel safe and helped me in stepping out of my comfort zone, and wanted to just get to know me as a friend. That was a really big difference for me. That was really my first friend that I made in 4-H Club, besides my sisters. The next people that helped me feel belonging was my Pennsylvania 4-H State Officer team, which you can see a picture of them in the middle. During 2020, which was the year I served, it was a very dark and unknown time. And in the midst of many unknowns, they helped me find my place again in 4-H, and they helped me grow in my public speaking abilities, professional skills, leadership skills, and beyond. I can truly say that without all these individuals I have mentioned, that I wouldn't have really found my home in 4-H. And that's truly what belonging has meant to me, and belonging means in 4-H is for me, it was finding my people. And then that helped me also find my projects. That just, again, helped me to continue to grow and mature and become the person I am today.
Yeah, so I can tag right off of that. 4-H really in general just made me very comfortable and feel safe. Just like Alyssa said, that's what that belonging means, right? And again, with that, 4-H has so many opportunities for youth to get involved and to feel like they have found their people and found their interest, their spark, all of that. And 4-H truly just has something for everyone. And with that, I was able to really feel a sense of belonging when I was showing livestock through 4-H and when I was participating in trap shooting. And so a few stories with that is when showing livestock, obviously I had found my spark from showing pigs, but I also was able to really connect with other people that had found their sparks through showing pigs as well and showing livestock. And so you really feel a sense of belonging when you have those connections and when you're making those relationships with others who are similar to you and are in maybe that same boat. And so here in one of these top pictures, you can see I'm at the state fair competition, and this is two other individuals that participated in the farrowed and owned cohort that has just opened up in the last couple of years with the Nebraska 4-H. And what I love about this is truly a cohort where I truly feel involved, and I belong there, because what it means is this is really open for kids that raise their pigs, are there for that whole process and then show it for that final project. And I got to compete and work with students that were doing or youth that were doing the exact same thing as I were. And for me, that just really allowed me to have a place where I felt like I belonged and could relate to those people. And that was just one small opportunity that 4-H has for youth to feel that belonging. Trap shooting also was another place where I really felt like I belonged. Like I said, I obviously was very actively involved in showing livestock, but I also was able to participate in trap shooting, what's kind of cool about that is I really was with a totally different group of people, but I still felt like we had that connection because we both enjoyed trap shooting in that environment, and what we were doing. And so I think the biggest thing to talk about belonging here is there are so many different opportunities that 4-H gives youth to find what they want to do and find people that they can connect with and find that sense of belonging. And like Alyssa and I have shared, like these are just a few of the ways we have felt like we belong through being in 4-H.
Yeah. Whether it be from events, people, to many experiences, there is really no exact way to put in belonging and to, I guess, have it nailed down. But I know that these were just some of our experiences that we were able to feel this. Moving on to, we're still at the surface or dirt level, working our way up, creating relationships. And how this is really defined in the 4-H Youth Thrive model is being the relationships we have with more of adults or leaders in this context. And as far as the connections and the relationships I was able to make through my time in 4-H, the one that really sticks out to me is in 2019, I applied and was selected to be my county's fair queen. Our fair queen is called the Elizabethtown Fair. It's for my county, but we have it named after the town instead that the fair is at. My Fair Queen coordinator was a older 4-H'er when I first joined. Her name was Leah. Leah was always a big role model to me and always helped me with my different animals that I was showing. So that was a big reason for wanting to apply to be Elizabethtown Fair Queen. When I was elected to be or selected to be the queen, it was really awesome getting to work with her and her be able to pass on to me advice and knowledge about public speaking, professionalism in many different contexts. And just her taking that time to foster and to grow my connections and our relationship there was huge. It went on to help me with my state officer interviews, with job interviews, scholarship interviews. It was huge, her being able to work with me and just grow me as an individual. The next connection that I want to talk about was just more specifically with my future with textile science. While attending our state fashion review and our Dauphin County 4-H roundup, we always have face-to-face judges interviews, and with showing my either weaving project, sewing project, crochet project, I always had to go before the judge and talk about my project and answer questions. And through those interviews, I was able to gain skills and refine my passion and my again, skills for improving my sewing and weaving handwork. And that was huge for me coming into college with now taking sewing and more advanced textile classes and being able to say, hey, I learned that from 4-H. I learned that from showing at my Dauphin County 4-H roundup. And that this 4-H leader worked with me and was able to help me when I was 12 on how to do a Hong Kong hem. And people are just like, oh, that's great. You learned that on 4-H. So that was just a huge connection that I was able to have through those showing experiences. And it was just fantastic to see the years of growth and development in these relationships I've had with other adult leaders and 4-H leaders and beyond. So those are just a few of my connections. I'm going to pass over to Kristen.
Yeah, so Alyssa kind of talked about the relationships you make in more of the professional adult side of things. While I agree with that a ton, I'm going to touch on maybe the connections and the relationships you make with the youth that you are going through 4-H with. And so here you can see that I made lots of connections. I was actively involved in 4-H in all kinds of aspects. I got to attend PACE, where I was able to meet kids from all over the state, and we would compete against each other in livestock judging and livestock physical. And those are people that I today in college get to go to class with and take animal science classes with. And it's fun to look back at because of 4-H is why I know them. And we were competing against each other, revolving around animal science content. And now we're in college, we're great friends, and we're attending animal science classes together. And so, 4-H really has these opportunities where you can meet other youth that you may become friends with in the future, and they'll be a part of your life forever. But it comes down to, back in 4-H is we found that common ground. We were competing against each other, and now we continue to share our passion and our interests with each other down the road.
Mhm.
I also went to CWF where I got
Hey,
to-
Kristen, can you get closer to the laptop a little bit? You
Yep.
kind of fade in and out a little bit, and we kind of miss a few things. That would be great. Thank you.
Nope, you're good. Sorry about that. Yeah, and let me know if it continues to happen. So I got to attend CWF where we went to Chicago, New York, DC, and Philadelphia, all with 4-H'ers around central Nebraska. And we really just got to connect and bond over our experience in 4-H and how all the things that 4-H has taught us can help us be better leaders and better citizens. And that was a 2-week-long trip with about 40 of us on a bus together. And so you really were able to make those friendships and make those connections and bond over your experience in 4-H and how we can use that in the future to be better citizens and be better leaders for our communities, for the state of Nebraska, for 4-H, all of that. I also was able to go to many 4-H camps where obviously we all bonded over being in 4-H, but we just got to really meet lots of people. And a lot of times when you went to 4-H camp, you were pretty little, but those were all people that I still am in contact with. I still have all of those great memories with, and 4-H is really that place where you create those lifelong relationships. And I think 4-H camp is a prime example of maybe at a young age, you meet these people, you find that interest, you make that relationship happen, and then it will last a lifetime. I was very actively involved in showing again. So I got to go to State Fair in Exarban, and that was a place I got to meet people from all over the state, all over the nation too, with being at Exarban. And there I was able to make a lot of connections with people that are interested in what I'm interested in, but also are part of lots of different organizations and groups that help me grow as a leader myself and in my different organizations, because they're able to share their knowledge and their skill set with me, and I get to take that back and use that in my different organizations. And I just think it's cool because it's youth helping youth, and in all, that's what 4-H is all about, is working together and learning from each other and making those relationships.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the connections that I think Kristen and I have both made, we can say, has both adult and youth have really helped us. And we're just going to continue to use those in whatever endeavors we take on and all the different activities we do. Moving into our experiencing engagement. This is really defined as just, and we're going to be talking about the events and promoting we did at 4-H and beyond, and just the different experiences we had in 4-H. And we're now kind of into our middle section of the 4-H to Thrive model. So without further ado, my engagements included that I'm going to talk about was attending National 4-H Congress. This was a huge one. I absolutely loved National 4-H Congress. It really got me to open and broaden my perspective of 4-H. This was the second National 4-H event I attended, and I think it's just a wonderful thing for a 4-H'er to be able to attend and experience how 4-H is larger and more than just cows, sows, and plows. I love that phrase because I think it does a great job of, those are skills we learn, some of the skills we learn in 4-H, but the connections, the friendships, the skills that we build, this is beyond, this is just much more than 4-H has to offer. And that's kind of what I was able to experience, that was what I was able to experience at National 4-H Congress. As part of our community service project, if anyone's familiar with National 4-H Congress, we have to do a service project while we're there. And my teams was going to Atlanta. It's held in Atlanta, Georgia. We went to Atlanta Public School and got to work with some kids and teach them about 4-H and agriculture based on some curriculum we were given. And that experiencing engagement there with young kids was just fantastic and got them interested and even maybe created some little sparks in there for 4-H. And then the next event where I was able to really experience engagement with peers and adults was through attending the Farm Summit, which is sponsored and run by the University of Pennsylvania, which is the Ivy League and vet school for Pennsylvania. They have a Farm Summit they hold annually. And my council team and I in 2020 was able to attend this summit, which was held over Zoom. And all farmers, or a good amount of farmers from Pennsylvania attended, and the different topics, workshop topics, were based around soil management, water management, and other such topics. And we got to speak specifically, my officer team and I, about involving those who are not involved in agriculture and getting them interested. That was our topic there. And it was really just a fantastic experience and engagement with these professors from a well-established university, getting to speak to farmers about how we can get kids and youth interested in maybe joining 4-H, which has awesome projects in agriculture and animal science. And that was just a great summit to be able to attend and speak to these professors. I know it grew even more my public speaking skills and being able to answer questions on the fly that we were presented with by farmers and professors and industry experts. It was just a great experience, and I'm forever grateful for it. I should also add that on our panel, we also worked with students from WB Saul, which is an agriculture school in Philadelphia, or I should say agriculture high school, and getting to work with those kids who are inner city kids who are very passionate about agriculture and wanting to learn more. That was a really great experience there, working with some non-4-Hers who now some of them became interested in doing 4-H. But yeah, great experience in engaging with other youth, 4-Hers, and professionals, and I am forever grateful for it. I'll pass it off to Kristen now.
Yeah, awesome. So, the thing about 4-H is there are so many opportunities to have engagement with others. And that is on the basic level of in your local community, statewide, or on the national level. And luckily, we have been able to work on the national level and have those opportunities to engage with people. But a few of my opportunities for engagement were, I already had mentioned CWF, but I got to go to Washington, D.C. During that 2-week trip, and we spent about 5 days there at the National 4-H Center that was there at the time. And we really just focused on citizenship and how we can lead in our communities. And it was really cool because you got to sit down and you truly developed all of these different plans that you can take back and implement into your community. And so there was, like I said, about 40 of us from central Nebraska. So we were not necessarily from the same communities, but it was really cool to work together with each other to see how each community was different and how each community had different needs and how we can all work together and to have that common goal for each one of our communities. And so being able to just work with people on the national level to develop that content and really implement it back in our communities was just an awesome experience. While we were there, we also got to meet with a few other people or a few other groups that were actually from Nebraska as well, but just a different part of the state, and hearing their ideas as well. Just that collaboration was super cool on that national level. I also got to attend the National Ag Youth Summit, which was an awesome opportunity. I was a freshman in high school at the time, and I got to present to youth that attended the Animals Inside and Out program, which was an awesome opportunity to just to teach that what we had developed here in the state of Nebraska to people all across the country, and to allow them to hear our story and what's happening in agriculture around Nebraska was really cool. But what was truly cool about that opportunity was we got to talk to people from all over the country, right? And that was the first time I had really been able to make connections with people that were involved in agriculture outside of the state of Nebraska. And I got to learn about how agriculture is so diverse across the nation, and really just being able to share each other's stories, and take back different programs from other states back to the state of Nebraska and implement that and just learn from each other. And I think that's a big thing is, engagement is all about that collaboration and working together and having those opportunities to work with those new people like that. And I really had the opportunity to learn how to be an advocate through my opportunities of engagement here through 4-H, and that truly has led me to find a passion with advocating for agriculture and wanting to pursue that down the line as well.
Well, we were just really trying to focus today on these bottom 2 layers here. But there is much more to this Thrive model. There is much more we could go into depth for, but these are just the beginning steps and stages of this model. Now to share just one final impact, or I should say part of the Thrive model that has carried us really into college, and we're continuing to grow as individuals. Chris and I, for me, being goal setting developed a career path for me. I had made goals for myself in high school that I wanted to be a textile engineer. I wrote that down, and I'm continuing to just work towards that goal. And that how I'm doing that is just continuing to develop my tailoring and custom sewing for others business. And that just consisted of people reaching out to me through my Instagram page. And just family and friends who know that I sew ask me to do odds and ends here and fixing clothes, and even just doing some projects from scratch that they needed, as well as I have had the opportunity to have 2 exhibitions now at the Omaha Fashion Week, and that consisted of me sewing a garment and having it modeled by a model at this fashion week. And that was just, I want to continue to grow and develop my sewing skills and skills as a textile engineer there. And I just want to keep improving in that and work towards this goal of being a textile engineer one day.
Awesome. Yeah, so like Alyssa said, 4-H really gives you lots of those skills that will impact you for the rest of your life. And one of those for me is 4-H truly helped me grow or develop a growth mindset around things. And so having a growth mindset really allowed me to envision what it would be like to have an annual pig sale for me. And so, like I said, at a young age, my family and I, we started raising pigs, and by my freshman year of high school I had already started my own herd, and I wanted to continue that. I wanted to make more out of it. I wanted to grow that. And that is when I started KK Show Pigs, where I hosted an annual pig sale every April. And so I just finished my 6th pig sale, which was super exciting. And I don't know if freshman Kristen would have ever expected it to be where it is now. And just having that growth mindset and the want to grow and get bigger and create more really helped that. And so with that being said, I also was able to expand and grow my business into KK Pork. And so 2 years ago, it was during COVID, I we noticed the opportunity for us to maybe expand on more of the retail cut side of pork. We had the pigs, and people had the want and the demand to get pork, and so we saw an opportunity to grow there, and I was able to build on that and create KK Pork, where I sell retail pork from the pigs that I have raised on my farm. And I truly don't think I would have ever had that drive and the ambition and the knowledge, I guess, the skill set to expand on my businesses like I have, and do that without having that growth mindset that 4-H has really taught me. And so with that, I want to continue those businesses and grow as I get older, and really make that a career path of mine, that I want to one day have my own storefront where I sell pork, and have that as my official career. So with that being said, again, thank you guys for letting us share our stories. I hope you learned something about the Thrive model today. And again, we didn't get to go into complete detail with some of those top layers, but we aren't necessarily there yet in our life. So again, we're going to continue to grow and develop, just like the Thrive model says. And we both can truly attest that 4-H is the reason we are here today, and will have a lifelong impact on us. And the reason we're still interns today, or part of 4-H today, is because we love 4-H, and we had the opportunity by being interns to stay involved, and it's something that has had an impact on us. So we want to continue to be a part of that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alyssa and Kristen, both for sharing more about your story and more about how you have found your spark and then thrived through the 4-H program. I'm wondering, can you go back and share your slide that has the flower model on it for me, please? I just want to connect the volunteers on today to their work as a volunteer, and what we know happens and we hope happens from an aspect of your role as volunteers. So you heard both Alyssa and Kristen talk a lot about the developmental context, so the very base of that model, and the soil at the very bottom. Where there's sparks, there's just a lot of different experiences that are happening, which in Nebraska 4-H, you all are responsible for helping make those experiences happen. So as a 4-H club leader or project leader, like many of you on today are, and that is your role, you're helping provide different experiences for youth to try new things and hopefully find their spark in the 4-H program. You're creating an environment for belonging. You're establishing a safe environment for relationships to form, and you're engaging youth in those ways. And so when you think about all of the work that you do in your roles as a 4-H volunteer, that very base of this developmental context that we hope and we know that youth are experiencing is made possible because of you. And so thank you for your efforts in that way, and making sure that these experiences are happening so youth do have the opportunity to find their spark. And then moving up then to youth thriving, it's very possible that you may see the youth thriving part of this model actually happen with your 4-Hers, because you're seeing them have an openness to new challenges and discovering new things. Kristen and Alyssa both talked about how they had a growth mindset to try new and different things related to the projects that they experienced in that soil level. So when we think about all of these things, it really sets youth up for success later in life, continuing on through the developmental outcomes and then the long-term outcomes that you may not see today in your club members, but know that by providing these experiences, you are setting them up for success in these other parts of the flower model that we may not see later, but we hear about them 1, 2, 5, 10 years down the road, about how you've helped these youth thrive because of the 4-H program. So thank you so much for being on today. At this time is when we open it up for some questions and comments. So we definitely want to hear from you if you have a question or a comment that you would like to share. Just like the last couple of days, go ahead and unmute or put it in the chat. I know that we may not have a lot of questions about this theory. This was an opportunity to share more about your role as a volunteer and some of the newest research behind the magic of the 4-H program, I like to say, because magically the 4-H program does work. And we know that because many of us are products of the 4-H program and not just Kristen and Alyssa who shared today. Great stories and great examples. And I do want to take a moment here just to launch a couple of questions for you. As a result of today's session, I now know more about the 4-H Thriving Model. Yes, no, or unsure. So please let us know what you're thinking there. And then the second question, as a result of this session, I know I'm making an impact on the future of the youth I currently serve in 4-H. So please also share your thoughts there as well as we start to wrap up today. We're getting lots of great comments in the chat. Thank you so much for supporting the ideas here with Alyssa and Kristen and what they shared. So thank you for sharing your support and your willingness to hear more about how 4-H has helped them thrive throughout their experience. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. Again, thanks so much for being on today. I'll stick around for a little bit if you have questions or comments or want to know more. Before I end the recording and close our session today, I just also want to give a plug for tomorrow's Lunch and Learn session. It is our final session of the day, or of the week, I should say, and it is regarding what we need to know from a shared leadership plan and succession plan for our 4-H clubs. So it really kind of opens up our eyes and our thoughts about how can we share the role of a 4-H club leader and then also think about a succession plan. Before we jump off, there's a question in the chat. Anita would like to know more about how some of the 4-H leaders or volunteers that help impact Alyssa and Kristen.
A 4-H leader that impacted me, well, my mom was one of my 4-H leaders. So naturally, I have to say it was a big one and impacted me and really pushed me to pursue my love and desire for being a textile engineer. An additional 4-H leader that really impacted me was actually my best friend's mom, which was Angie Shaw. She helped me in learning how to spin and weave and work with different fiber animals, and helped me in starting my breeding line of Angora rabbits. And she really took the time to teach me weaving and spinning, which was a really awesome thing for me wanting to pursue textile science. And I could go on to name more and more, but just them taking the time to teach me something and the time to just listen and hear what I'm interested in was huge. And I could not be more grateful for my 4-H leaders. And I can still continue to say that many of them are, I still keep in contact with many of them. And as a 4-H volunteer myself, I get to work beside them and help them now, which has been really cool as well.
Yeah, so I also had a mom that was very actively involved in 4-H. She was my extension educator. So I was basically at everything, always doing something revolving around 4-H. And so obviously she had a huge impact on me and helped me find my passion in 4-H. But I also had a club leader that had been doing it for almost 50 years, and her name is Carrie Susie, and she was one of those people that was just able to connect with everyone. And she was someone that I obviously was a livestock kid, but she was kind of able to bring me into doing some of those home environment projects and just those fun, maybe inside projects, I like to call them. But she really was just able to bring me into that and help me find that exciting and fun, even though that necessarily wasn't my main passion. And so I just really credit her for always getting me to try those new things and to have that open mindset about it.
I think we have a follow-up question. Do you think others in your clubs that the leaders weren't there, parents flourish in 4-H as much as you both have? I can say definitely. My mom learned she grew up in Nebraska. She wasn't in 4-H, but grew up on a farm. She was able to learn some skills alongside of my sisters and I, which was really cool. My dad, who grew up in Pennsylvania 4-H in Lancaster County, was very active, and he was able to both still grow in his skills too and teach my sisters and I more and more about our animal projects. But yes, I would say definitely the parents get to learn right beside the kids and help them as well.
Yeah, so one of my best friends, Jordan Wilbur, she's now an extension assistant in Buffalo County. She was in Franklin County with me, and she's a few years older than me, but she just from a young age was very actively involved in 4-H, and she found a love for it right away. And one of the pictures on the slides was actually her and I when we were little, showing goats, but she just found a passion for it at a very young age and stayed actively involved, and just made a lot of connections through 4-H. And today she's now part of Nebraska 4-H, which I think right there shows you how big of an impact that has had on her.
And I'm also going to add in, as a current 4-H club leader myself, that sometimes my own children in my club, they often say to me, "Why do you always, choose other kids to answer the questions and not me?" And those kinds of things. And I think as a leader, I probably, this sounds probably not great, but I definitely may give more attention to the other youth in the club and make sure that they maybe have more of what they need when my own children slightly kind of have to fend for themselves in a way. And I know that they don't necessarily appreciate that, but when I'm in a 4-H club leader role, that's often the mode I switch into. And maybe some of you can either agree or disagree with that. But you don't necessarily have to have a parent as a 4-H club leader to be successful. It's often that, a 4-H club leader is one of the communicators of information to 4-H club families in a county program. So they tend just to make sure they're reading all the material and, forwarding emails and things of that nature. So from that standpoint, I can maybe see why you would answer that or ask that question, Christina.
Yeah, to go off that, Jill, real quick, talking about like my club leader, that was a huge reason why she had an impact on me, was because my mom was always doing stuff and busy, and like Jill said, you're kind of giving attention to everybody else, and she was someone that very much so was, "Kristen, what do you need help with? I will come help you," like kind of thing as well.
Anyone else have a question? You're definitely welcome to unmute and ask as well, or put it in the chat. Thanks again for being on today. I'm going to stop the recording, but